Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. Banana156 here. Remember to subscribe, like, dislike, do all that great stuff. Leave a comment. I do read all comments, so make sure to leave one. Yeah, so in this video I'll be talking about the Republican Party, and I know in the January 6th video I talked about them quite a bit, and that's just what the video turned into, is me talking about the Republican Party. But I wanted to talk about them again because I just did the Democratic Party video, and I thought it would be kind of, good to do the two parties in succession. But yeah, so the Republican Party. Now, what are they supposed to be? They're supposed to be the conservative party. They're supposed to be fiscally conservative. They're supposed to be socially conservative, not want change, and revert back to old systems. Now, what are they? That's what they're supposed to be, and I do disagree with those values. But what are they? What are they actually like currently? They are I wouldn't call them fiscally conservative because of the lucrative military budget they support and the immense tax cuts they give to billionaires. Like, what was Warren Buffett's tax rate? 0.01% or whatever? What was Elon Musk? Like 3%? Jeff Bezos was like 1%? No, that's not being fiscally conservative. If you were fiscally conservative, you'd be taxing the hell out of them, and you wouldn't be spending $1 trillion on the military every year. Oh, but they call themselves fiscally conservative because they won't give money to homeless people or healthcare or shit that actually matters. But so no, they are not fiscally conservative. They just are in areas that help people. Now the other thing, socially conservative. Yes, they are very socially conservative. Very socially conservative. The stance in most state legislators or state Republicans, like the state legislator Republicans, is they're anti-gay marriage, anti-trans people, anti almost everything good that is slowly falling apart at the top. Like, they had to concede on gay marriage, and the gay marriage debate is pretty much over. They conceded on the trans bathroom things, and now it's all about kids taking trans kids. It's all about that now. But yeah, so they've conceded at the top a little bit, but the state, like the Republicans at the bottom, are still very strongly against those things and will push those points. Now that's what they are, and why is that bad? Well, I think it's pretty obvious why it's bad. They claim to be anti-government too, when they clearly aren't. They are all for government intervention. They want to strip your bodily autonomy away with abortion laws. They want to not allow. They want to oppress gay people and other LGBT people. They want big government, but they just don't want it to attack rich white men. That's it. Like, they don't want to do anything to help the poor. They're not just the poor, but that's like the overarching point I will get to. But they don't want to help anyone that's oppressed or in need of help. Now, this brings me back to, for my philosophy class, we talked about Edmund Burke, and he is considered the father of modern day conservatism. Now, what did Edmund Burke stand for? So, he was around during the time of the French Revolution, and he believed that society should be in a hierarchical form, and that there should be a hierarchy, but bloodlines should not make up the hierarchy. So, like, a royal family should not be on top just because of their blood. So how do you create a hierarchy without bloodlines? He thought of the brilliant idea of incorporating the free market, and those that rise to the top deserve to be there, and those that fall to the bottom deserve to be there. He thought it was the perfect system to divide the super, like, Giga Chad people from the soy boy people, or the soy jack people. That's what he thought. And he also hated the poor, like, straight up. He was anti-equality too. Like, those people at the bottom, he didn't believe that they were as good as the people at the top. He believed that they were worse and that they weren't equal, and that they didn't deserve equal rights because of that. So that led the foundation for modern day conservatism, and now a lot of them don't admit this. I have seen a few, like John Doyle when he was on a thing with Blair White, and that one lady who was a Democrat but went to a Republican rally and now is a Republican. But I saw John Doyle on a panel, and he said that, let's face it, we are not a party for equality. He said that during that panel, and they all agreed with him, because that's what Republicans are. They are anti-equality. They have a contempt for the poor, and they want to drive them into the ground as much as possible and squeeze as much juice out of them as possible. And they are strict authoritarians. Like, they are incredibly strict authoritarians who want a social structure similar to that of just well, what am I trying to say? They want a hierarchical system that puts the right people up top, meaning rich white men at the top, and then middle class white men, then the rich white men's wives, then the middle class men's wives, then black people, then I don't know how they want it, but then like at the bottom, black people, brown people, LGBTQ, poor women, stuff like that. And now think about everything that the Republican Party has been against throughout its history. They were against women's suffrage. They were against the freeing of slaves. No, not the Republican Party specifically. Conservatives, I mean. Because I know some of you know that the Democratic Party used to be the conservative group. But the conservatives, I'm talking about conservatives, not the Republican Party. But think about what conservatives have been against. They were against women's suffrage. They were against the freedom of slaves. They were against the Civil Rights Act. They were against giving black men the right to vote. They were against gay marriage. They've been against everything. Like if you date back, they did horrible stuff to the civil rights activists. They did horrible stuff to the women's suffrage activists, and they tried to oppress them as much as possible until they lost. Now, so there's always a new battle. So like women's suffrage, then the Civil Rights Act, then gay marriage, then trans people. But if we let them win on trans people and concede that point, then they'll start back up on gay people and gay marriage. If we concede on that point, they'll go back to the Civil Rights Act. And if we concede on that point, they'll start attacking women's suffrage. That's what they do. And they've always had the same values. They are always against minorities. And there's always an outgroup. Like, I like to call conservatives baby fascists, because they don't know they're fascist, but they are fascists. They have nearly the same values, it's just not as extreme. And they won't completely genocide a group, but they will strip all of their rights away if they get the chance to, and over many years so it's less noticed. They will do that. They won't genocide them, but they will make them feel, they'll strip their rights away. That's what conservatives do. They are all about preserving power at the top and not letting it get down to anyone else. And this is how they've always been and how they always will be. And now the fascism part of them is starting to come up a bit more, in saying that Donald Trump, in almost all of his speeches, echo Umberto Eco's 14 points of fascism. In almost every single one of his speeches, he echoes at least like 7 of them. And it's just, and now with like the January 6th riot that happened, and them being in support of it, who's to say they wouldn't be in support of? Who's to say they wouldn't be in support of a military coup if it happened? Of course they would, because they have their only allegiance is to preserving power at the top and consolidating power. That is their only purpose and their only core value. And they will do anything to achieve that goal. They will push down groups as much as possible. They will destroy. They may not genocide minorities, but they will strip all of their rights away. And yeah, then they'll always oppress groups. That's what I think of the Republican Party. They are fascists, and they've always been this bad. It's just now that they're starting to be a little bit mask off now, and it's really sad to me seeing all these normal people being radicalized the way it is, like with QAnon, Fox News, all that stuff, seeing all these good people being radicalized, especially older people who are isolated and just start getting scared of stuff because Tucker Carlson tells them to, or Sean Hannity or whatever, or I don't even know if his first name's Sean, I just came up with that. But yeah, it's just kind of sad to see all these people getting radicalized to such irrational positions, and eventually the Republican Party will hopefully fall out of favor and will fall into irrelevance, and the general public is becoming more progressive. it is becoming more progressive and more progressive, and the general public is becoming better. So eventually, the Republican Party will lose favor, and there's only 25% of people are registered Republicans, so that's good. So it is going down. We are winning the battle, and we just can't let up at all. Because like unlike Karl Marx said that socialism is inevitable. I don't think it's inevitable. It's a fight, and we have to fight for progressive values. And yeah, that's the only way we'll get there, is if we can keep fighting, and we will win that fight. Because fascism is in challenge with reality. So they are fighting us and reality, and we have reality on our side. So if we just keep fighting, we will win the battle eventually. We may have a few we might have a few might have to take a few steps back from here and then, or not few steps, like, you know what I mean, like we take a few, like we lose one battle, but we won't lose the war. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, we will win the war if we keep fighting. And yeah, thank you all for watching. This was my first scripted video in a while, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, that's my opinion on Republicans and why they're fascists. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Remember to like, dislike, subscribe, comment. I do read all comments. And yeah, just thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.